A support worker has been stabbed at an asylum seeker hotel. And I think this is going to raise some serious questions, isn't it? Now, before anyone starts shouting at the screen or shouts in my comments, I'm not saying that every asylum seeker is dangerous. I have to make that statement every time I do a video. I'm not saying everyone. What I'm saying is we need to talk about the policy, don't we? Because what happened, this happened in Stanwell Hotel in Surrey, a hotel being used to accommodate asylum seekers, yeah? Now, the police were called out around 6:30 on Saturday evening after a man was stabbed. The victim is a man in his 30s who works at the hotel. Excuse me. His injuries were initially described as life-threatening. Thankfully, though, he's now in a stable condition and his injuries are no longer thought to be life-threatening, which is good news, yeah? So what happened is a 22-year-old Somalian national, Dadami, whatever his name is now being charged with attempted murder and due to appear in court. And obviously, he's entitled to a fair trial. Of course he is. That's the fact, isn't it? But here's where I think that we need to ask some uncomfortable questions. And you know what I'm like about my questions, because these are people the government are choosing to house in our communities. Yeah. And if we're going to put up people in hotels and in towns and cities across Britain, then surely the government has a responsibility, don't they, to make sure that those hotels are properly managed and properly secured. What protection do the staff have? What risk assessments are being carried out? And what happens when something goes wrong? Because let's remember, the victim wasn't a politician, was he? He wasn't making immigration policies. He was just a bloke going to work, yet another bloke going to work and ended up in hospital. And I've got to say, how many more incidents do we need to have before the government admits that the asylum hotel simply, that system isn't working? We're told these hotels were temporary. We're told that the government wants to get the people out of the hotels, but they're still being used, of course, and ordinary communities are expected to accept them. So if you're going to put asylum accommodation in our towns and in our cities and in our neighbourhoods, then when the people living there and the people working there are in danger, what does that tell you? And this isn't about where someone comes from. It's about what the government is doing when these people are being housed in our area and whether the system is safe. Because you should be able to go to work, shouldn't you, and come home safely. That's one thing. That's not unreasonable to ask, is it? And I keep going back to the point that we hear about all these incidents. We don't see it on the news, the mainstream media news. But the other thing is that's really making me angry is that these people then are being placed into our communities. I've got like 4 or 5 HMOs around me here now. As I say, I'm not saying everybody, all of them are dangerous. I'm not saying that at all. I have to keep stressing that. But even if it's one dangerous person, it's one too many, isn't it? What do you think? Leave your comments below. And if you're not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe. See you all later. Ciao.